Christina remained in her lifeless state until the hot sun of the following day revived her body. It was nothing short of a miracle, for anyone witnessed that brutal rape or saw her lifeless body after they were through with it. She came back to life with strong headache while each part of her body was giving her terrible pain. She did not know where she was and she could not see anyone around. She discovered that those two wicked policemen did not only rape her, but robbed her clothes, handbag, and money. Nevertheless, she found her body was still wrapped by the black burqa the good old woman had given her. Her torn shirt, jeans, and underwear were all disappeared from her body. She had only the burqa that covered her body from head to feet. She forced her dormant body to move and began to walk aimlessly in that scary jungle. After walking for some time, Christina reached a rough road. She decided to keep walking in that road. She hoped that someone might see her and rescue her. She scared she might come across some men who might mistake her for a prostitute and rape her again. Also, she was frightened that she might be eaten alive by a wild beast in that scary jungle. She did not walk for long before she saw a bus coming towards her. She stood in the middle of the road and waved her hands for the bus driver. The driver stopped his bus a few meters away from her. The bus conductor came out and called her to hurry up. When Christina reached the bus and climbed in, she found many passengers inside. None of them talked to her or asked her from where she came and where she was going. The conductor stood from his seat and asked her to occupy it. He went to the back of the bus and stood on the back door. After that, the bus resumed its trip as if she was a passenger that the driver and the conductor were expecting to find and pick her up in that jungle. Christina remained silent all the way, until the bus reached Mumbai city. During the trip, her thoughts were so clouded and her mind was deeply engrossed in the events of the previous day. They were as if a horror movie she watched somewhere or nightmares she dreamt about the last night. When the passengers began to come out of the bus, the conductor stopped her and asked her to pay 200 rupees. Christina apologized and told him that she was robbed of her purse and money. The conductor wasn't willing to let her go until the driver intervened and asked him to allow her to leave. Christina promised to send a check to them as soon as she would reach her apartment. The driver believed her words and asked the conductor to give her the address of his bus. Christina took a taxi and returned to her apartment. When she reached there, she called her husband and asked him to pay the taxi driver. Then, she narrated to her husband her bad experience with her stepfather and the horrifying rape she went through in her visit to Mumbai. She asked him to come with her to the police station so that she could lodge complaint against her evil stepfather, those wicked boys, and the two lawless Muslim policemen who raped her inside their police office and dumped her lifeless body in the jungle. Her husband strongly opposed her decision to lodge a complaint. He told her that she would not be able to prove she had been raped. He said to her further that in India the court would not accept a DNA result or even issue an order to conduct such a test. Furthermore, her husband continued to contest all her complaints until finally he told her, "You have asked for it." Christina felt as if her husband had said to her, "You deserve to be raped for your disobedience." He was talking to her as if she wasn't his wife. In addition, he said to her that such a trial might take years before the court would pass its final judgment on it. It was abundantly clear to Christina that her husband's main concern was to immigrate to America. He did not care about her injured honor, humiliation, and the brutal way she was raped. Besides that, he did not care if she could find her mother or not. He just wanted to use her to achieve his life dream of reaching his heaven America. Swallowing her pride, Christina decided to soldier on alone. On the same day, she went to the Bandra police headquarters and lodged a complaint against her evil stepfather, those Muslim boys who abused her, and the two wicked policemen who raped her at Mumbai. The first thing the police did was sending her to a hospital for treatment. After that, they referred her complaint to the Thane police headquarters. The police of Thane issued an arrest warrant against the Mullah Sheikh Uldeen Khan, who was arrested the same day. When he was interrogated by Thana police, the Mullah Khan denied that he told the boys to abuse and rape the girl who came to his house and claimed to be the daughter of his third wife. In addition, he said his wife Rayhanaji herself said she had no daughter. On his statement, which he spoke under oath by placing his right hand on his holy Quran, the Mullah Khan falsely claimed that his third wife came out of the house and saw the Christian girl and said she had never seen her before and she had no any kind of relation with her. The Mullah's words sounded convincing to the Thana police when he said the girl was a Christian and his wife was a Muslim. Whereupon, the Thana police released him and left the case to be decided by the court. Accordingly, Christina was notified by the Bandra police that her case would go to court and she would receive a letter from the court sometime in future. Regarding her complaint against those two Muslim policemen who allegedly raped her, the Thana police could not make any arrest because there were more than 40 small police stations in Mumbai town. In each police station, there were 2 policemen in charge. Christina could not give the full names of her alleged rapists, the name of the police station where she went to complain, the name of the rickshaw driver who drove her there, or the names of her juvenile attackers. She wasn't sure whether the name of one of the 2 policemen was Muhammad, Mehaboob, Mammon, Majnoon, etc. Every time, she kept on pronouncing a different name. There were over 100 policemen in Mumbai by those names. Christina could not remember at all the name of her alleged second rapist. When the Thana police went to that area, no one came forward to testify about the alleged rape attempt of the Christian girl who came to visit the house of the Mullah Sheikh Uddin Khan. Christina became incensed when she learnt that her case was now referred to court and that her stepfather had claimed that his wife denied ever having a daughter. She was not in the least discouraged from her quest, and steeled herself for the fight ahead. She was even more determined to meet her mother and punish those that had abused and raped her. She decided to approach a lawyer to fight her case in court. Her decision was to remain in India indefinitely and fight a case in court drove her husband mad with rage. Brother Bruno began to accuse sister Christina of trying to fool him and stay in India forever. He started to quarrel with her every day. Their quarrel reached the church leadership. The senior pastor of the church told Sister Christina that fighting a rape case at court against a Muslim religious leader might take years. Wherefore, he took the side of her husband and advised her to forget about her rape case and her mother and take her husband and return to America and live there together peacefully and happily. Nevertheless, Sister Christina rejected the advice of her church pastor and went ahead and appointed a lawyer. The lawyer also advised her to forget about the rape case because she had no proof. She neither knew the names of her alleged rapists nor the address of the police station where the crime was committed. He had also reminded her that she did not know the name of any of the boys who had physically assaulted and molested her. His main concern was the fact that she could not conclusively prove that the Mullah Sheikh Uddin Khan had instructed the Muslim boys to rape her. In legal speak, he cautioned her that her statement lodged at the Bandra police stated that the boys did not rape her, but assaulted her physically and exposed her body. In that case, even if he could prove the assault charges, the court would be unwilling to convict on her allegation of rape. The lawyer advised that she should concentrate on her mother's issue. He assured her that the court would bring the mullah's third wife, Begum Rayhanaji Khan, in the courtroom and question her in front of everybody. Moreover, he said to her even if her mother would deny her blood relationship with her, she could still file for a maternity DNA test. He assured her in such a case the court would allow for the DNA test to be conducted. But she had to pay for the charges of the test. Accordingly, Christina followed the advice of her lawyer and concentrated on her mother's issue. The lawyer whom Christina approached happened to be the same advocate that her Hindu mother, many years ago, had appointed to fight her daughter's disputes with the late film director Mahmood Khan. Furthermore, he was the one who promised to claim the overseas properties she had inherited from her deceased husband Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. Therefore, that day when Christina came to him, he broke to her the good news that he succeeded through a Saudi lawyer to sell her 15-floor-story building in Jeddah for $22 million. But, he said further, he couldn't yet get her 3 houses sold because the wives of Sheikh Ahmed took the case to the Sharia court. The Islamic court put the sale of the 3 residences on hold. Accordingly, that same day, the Indian lawyer took Christina to the State Bank of India and transferred $22 million to her overseas account. Unfortunately, that day, one of the employees of the Hindu lawyer happened to be a Muslim man. He immediately remembered that Christina was the same Indian beauty queen who called his holy prophet my foot and threatened to spit in his holy Quran. Nonetheless, he hid his findings from others and pretended to know nothing. As soon as Christina left along with her Hindu lawyer and headed to the State Bank of India, the Muslim employee opened the client's register book and jotted down her address and hid the paper in his secret pocket. The address was her in-laws' residences. Meanwhile, while Sister Christina was waiting for her mother's case to be decided by the court, Brother Bruno and his family turned her life into a living hell, launching into a synchronized nagging and harassment assault culminating with her return to America. When it became impossible for her to put up with their harassment, she went again to the senior pastor and his wife and demanded either to be divorced from her husband or be separated permanently from him. The senior pastor and his wife tried desperately to convince her to rebuke the devil and return and live with her husband. Nonetheless, this time, she strongly rejected their counsel and advice and demanded divorce or separation. When she refused to listen to their advice, the senior pastor and his wife called for leaders' meeting and invited Brother Bruno and his parents. After long meeting which was full of arguments based on biblical quotations, one of the leaders suggested a solution based on a compromise. According to his solution, Sister Christina could stay indefinitely in India and pursue her mother's legal case. But, first she should take her husband, father-in-law, and mother-in-law, return to America, and then come back to Mumbai to finish her mother's case. In fact, seeds of this solution were already planted into the mind of the senior pastor and that leader by Brother Bruno's father. Bruno's parents agreed to cover the expenses of their trip to America, but their daughter-in-law's trip up and down from India to the United States of America and vice versa should be covered by her. Additionally, she should purchase the air ticket of her husband. By this time, the Fernandez clan came to know that their stubborn daughter-in-law had a hidden treasure and they suspected that she inherited her huge wealth from her late Saudi husband. Bruno's 3 sisters made nasty rumors about the wealth issue and began to spread it among their circles in the church. There were 2 versions of the rumors and both were ugly and malicious and done great damage to the reputation of their sister-in-law. Sometimes, they would tell their mates that she got her huge wealth through whoredom while she was an actress in Bollywood and became the highest paid high-profile prostitute. Other times, they accused her of arranging the murder of her late Saudi business tycoon when he was in jail and inherited his millions of dollars and many properties. No matter what they said about her, their sister-in-law refused to reveal to them how much money she has and how did she acquire it. Sister Christina reluctantly accepted the compromise and its conditions. Effectively she acted on the decision of the church leadership, applied for immigration visas of her husband and in-laws, and bought the tickets. Nevertheless, with only 2 weeks left for the American consulate to issue the visas for Brother Bruno and his parents, something happened that changed everything and turned the marriage relation between Sister Christina and her husband upside down. One day, Sister Christina told her husband that she was going to meet her lawyer at church gate and requested him to accompany her, but as usual, her husband refused without giving any reason. Nonetheless, she took a taxi and travelled from Bandra to church gate all alone. Her mind was meditating on her miserable life in India. She felt as if she was cursed that wherever she went she always fell victim to abuses and rape. She concluded that her life was always failure. Her inability to punish those who abused and raped her and her failure to convince the church leadership to relieve her from her abusive husband drove her to the extent of being suicidal. She decided to end her life, but she had no guts to do so. As before, she wished that she could find someone and pay him to shoot her or run her down by his car. While her taxi was passing through Marine Drive and she was just 5 minutes away from Church Gate, Christina spotted someone sitting on the beach. At first, she thought she was hallucinating or experiencing daydream. Nevertheless, she stopped the taxi immediately, paid her fare, and came out. Then, she crossed the street and began to run towards the person she was still seeing sitting by the seashore. She had never run so fast in all her life. When she reached him without talking to him, she just threw her arms around him and embraced him. The person recognized her immediately. He also responded to her embrace and hugged her. She felt as if she emerged out of the physical world and entered a heavenly realm. She had never become so happy in all her life as that moment. She had never kissed a boy in his lips in front of everyone except that day. It was her lover and spiritual friend, Michael Lewinsky, the completed Jew. Christina felt as if an angel came down from heaven and pulled her out of a dark and deep well. She had the same feeling, which she experienced when Michael came to the Jewish home of his loving grandparents and took her out of her gloomy and suicidal mood and planted hope in her mind and filled her heart with that unmatchable love.